Hey people, we are live here on the DST show, and I wonder if everybody's having had a great 4th of July. I didn't. That ruined the amount of 3 hours of sleep I had to myself. Just think about spending time with my family, eating good food, and enjoying the pyrotechnics. Just the only thing I care about, other than just waiting until any free agency has happened. The Nets have done something, rejuvenated an over 30s depth. Their only big signing they've had out of the Kyrie Irving opt-in and Kevin Durant leaving for better pastures, still emerging over the trading rumors involving the Los Angeles Lakers or any other bottom-feeding Eastern Conference team to even make an average contender that still get pimp slapped by the Warriors. We have no news yet, but I've called it just like I did the Lakers. The Brooklyn Nets would have lost the first round, and I've complained over this whole super team craze. You don't sacrifice potential talent for just trying to force yourself to win the ship with barely chemistry issues, the biggest egos in the NBA, lack of chemistry, an inexperienced coach. What part of an inexperienced coach that barely worked over a coherent system means that he's ready to try to contend the championship team with unabiding talent? Sure, you could have said the same thing about Steve Kerr. He's a six-time NBA. He's been a three-time NBA champion, and he's spent majority of his time building over a system. Kyrie Irving, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. These guys were draft picks in the Warriors. Even though they had Mark Jackson, they built up over a system of dominance, revolutionary play style that a lot of teams build upon to this day to try to compete, so they can push over to the highest scoring mark. The only way to even beat teams like the Warriors. And we're looking over to the Brooklyn Nets. This is not their first time doing this, and I explained this over my recent stream, bro. Like, they did this the same way over when King when Kenny King, I forgot his name. He was trying to build over a super team over the recent relocation for the New Jersey Nets around 2010, and build over a big market franchise to contend with the New York Knicks. Because back in the day, the Knicks used to be big, especially over in the playoff contention from getting Carmelo Anthony. So they picked on a major trade to get Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, sign over Gerald Wallace, and sign a max contract to Darren Williams. Out of their prime, but still productive role players. Oh, and Joe Johnson was there. I think their highest they did was 41 wins and losing every year in the first round, while their head coach was Jason Kidd. Goddamn spilling drinks so he can get free timeouts. Just play over no systematic identity, just push over for ISO ball and just chuck over the three as possible. So it's the same way. There's no identity whenever the Nets have it. When they were rebuilding, at least they were with rosters that could actually go for something. The only issue over after the failed Big Three happened, even with the talent they were showing, they were just backwater free agent role players that lost their spark. Even though Brook Lopez was only the top pick they ever had since then, wasted his career, bro. And now he's over with the Milwaukee Bucks, putting up great production on a team that's actually going to contend. D'Angelo Russell is on a team that acquired a multi-time Defensive Player of the Year. Karis LeVert, I wish I had better things to say, but he's had many injuries. Even though he's shown back in Brooklyn that he could be a productive, high paced scorer. And Timothy Mozgov, when he was on Brooklyn, I think that was before or afterhand. He won the chip with LeBron. So just think about what the Nets jumped the shark on, sacrificing several picks that last the majority of the 2010s. And most you guys had was Euro players till then. We have barely that much of a farm system trying to wait over to the trade deadline. So just knowing that type of misconstrued thing, like when you guys when you guys traded over for D'Angelo Russell for Trevor Baker, Trevor Booker. No, I think it's Trevor or Terrence Booker, whatever. And actually trying to build up a young, upstanding offense with good chemistry, a coach that has experience, a fan base itching for a winning culture since the early 2010s Knicks, and the Barclays actually being a good touring center. Like you're not wasting much time trying to build over team like you had around 2018 before our supermax. We have two max slots for contracts, so we can push over for a supporting cast and still keep the young unit unified, so we can build over for a playoff push. Because last time you guys got blown out by the Toronto Raptors that ended up winning the championship. Even though you guys had some good high spots, D'Angelo Russell underperformed. So I'm trying to get it. Like, what's going to happen earlier on? Because there's thoughts on relocation. Already the roster's imploding. Kyrie's only staying over to opt in because who wants to make $6 million over $36 million? Harden already got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers around the trade deadline from this year. And Kevin Durant's already requested a trade. So what is that? 3 top All-Stars, 2 league MVPs, and a 2-time NBA champion just left one of the biggest markets in NBA basketball. And that's in the span of 3 years. And they also had an inexperienced first-year NBA coach over Steve Nash. Now, I wish him the best, and surely he gets the learning curve of the NBA, of being a coach soon. Because not all because you're an NBA player, or even a great one, in fact, doesn't mean you're always going to be the best NBA coach. Jason Kidd when he was in Milwaukee. So just get that through your heads. Same thing with Chauncey Billups. What about Tyronn Lue? You think Tyronn Lue was an MVP or an All-Star? I mean, other than getting crossed up by Iverson, that's all you remember Tyronn Lue for. But just knowing like that's the extent, and even the play style of the Nets just never signified that they had any identity or shown that they were dominant. Because it came up like going in a multi-game losing streak over the previous season. I think Kyrie doing what he did on Boston, not making anybody improve, just isoing out his play style, crossing up, driving, and dropping 60, not impacting the team's win-loss record. And it's like, oh, Nikola Jokic doesn't deserve league MVP around the media. And I don't like the fucking sports media. These are the same people that thought Steve Nash, being the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, and I discussed this before on a previous video, that was a breach of white privilege. And this is coming from the overly racially profiling, bullshit, terrible ESPN that like the virtual signal either than talk about goddamn sports. It's literally in their title. And they still quantify over the name value other than does this really work for a long-term venture when it came to getting rid of so much, sacrificing so much young youth. Like, who's really benefactors over here? I don't know, the people that acquired Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, D'Angelo Russell's now in a younger and more hungry team for a playoff push. Jared Dudley joined over an NBA championship team. What part of the game is this that the Nets just don't want to understand, bro? And even like Harden drops 50, Durant drops 50 in a game, Kyrie drops 50. It never works. Just for the cataclysm of depth, they had to even like have that shot, and people try to compare it over to the Miami Heat Big Three. Last time I checked, the Miami Heat Big Three won 2 NBA championships over the span of four finals appearances, only losing to the Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks. And other than that, they've been the most dominant team in basketball. If it wasn't for chemistry or injuries, especially over to from Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, this could have been the greatest team in history until the Golden State Warriors. And it's still remembered fondly for the best dynamic duo in the NBA and one of the biggest free agency signings. Not saying that Kyrie and Katie wasn't a big free agency signing, but at least it went somewhere. And you'd think having two of the greatest offensive players. Oh wait, there were only the two offensive players. Katie's great on defense, but he doesn't impact the floor like he did when he was in Golden State, dog. And it just went no centered system, forcing away all your youth and depth, and only Seth Curry and Joe Harris. Of course, Joe Harris even suffered the 3-point contest curse. Soon, like Eric Gordon, when he won a 3-point contest curse, barely even shot efficiency. And I think that was the same year they went over 27. Like, please, get over yourself. Brooklyn, you guys should have saw this coming when you guys overly hyped the name values you're getting. And when you guys actually had something good that you guys had to wait patiently for, New York is actually known for doing this because they're not patient. It ends up biting them in the ass. And that's the shown downfall of the Brooklyn Nets. But you had your twists and turns, I guess. If it took Harden literally leaving and from being the best player in Houston Rockets history and a league MVP, or Westbrook being the best player on the Thunder, just a ring chase, I would totally understand if you feel like joining a big market and Kevin Durant leaving would actually affect your chance, would have been a big option over, parking, partying, tempering, COVID. Instead of the XFL, where circumstances were the reasons for its demise and why it's coming back around 2023 instead of having their 2022 season. Nets did this all to themselves, and so did the players. Tell me how you guys feel about this. I do not like the Nets fan base. I don't like the Nets organization. I don't like any of the top 3 players they just signed. I mean, they signed years ago. And just knowing that this is what happens to the Brooklyn Nets when you try to bet all your chips, and not noticing what you do with the remaining, it just shows how really desperate certain franchises are willing to go just for some bit of relevance, other than, build an actual legacy. That's it for me. Thanks for watching the DST show. Like for more, and I hope you guys had a great 4th of July.